Just back from IT Nation Europe. What a fantastic event. It was in London, United Kingdom. It's early March 2025, and it was a sold out event. ConnectWise did an incredible job. So many partners, so interesting to hear different perspectives and different kind of ways on how MSPs are operating in Europe. Still have the same problems, but just a little bit of a twist. But I ended up doing 10 conversations, interviews, podcasts. There was 2 other podcasters there. It was just a great event. My first conversation with Paul Croker, another podcaster, really fascinating gentleman. I'm so glad we met. Sean Lardo was next, of course, with his recent promotions and everything he's doing with IT Nation. Always love catching up with Sean and talking about IT Nation and Pitch It. Heather Alford, oh my goodness, what a great conversation with Heather. She is somebody you're going to get to know and somebody you're going to really like. Paul McNeil has been at ConnectWise for a while. He's from Australia. Interesting transformation from MSP to a vendor to now with ConnectWise. James Grant, fascinating gentleman there in the UK with Vodafone. Dan Scott, the MC of the entire event. They're heading up Europe of IT Nation. Really lots of energy. Great MC. Really made everybody feel at home. Patrick Beggs, of course, the CISO, ConnectWise. Always interesting to peek into security and to his life. Peter Kajawa runs all of IT Nation and the many plates he's now spinning and why he likes wine so much. Mikhail Stefanko, fascinating MSP from Slovakia. Fascinating man and what his issues are there. And I can't wait to see what happens with him. And then I finished out with episode number 600 with my good friend Austen Clark from Scotland. And we talk about his MSP and his challenges. Great event there in London. Manny Ravello was there, a lot of the keynotes, a lot of information and time well spent with partners, with vendors, and with MSPs there in London. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others.
There's some really interesting pieces out there which I pick up from flea markets.
So did you always like furniture?
No. It just becomes something I was following on TikTok. And saw these people were doing it. I thought, hey, I could do that. Because I've always really been into DIY. I do all my own DIY. In fact, I've redone my daughter's flat.
Really?
So I do all that. So yeah, I redecorated and put things together. And I can, I'm quite handy with my hands. And gardening.
Always?
Always. Oh gosh, yeah. I've DIY'd 5 houses, 4 or 5 houses. I've rebuilt 2 houses.
Really?
When I say rebuilt, I mean basically I haven't built the house. I've just redone.
Remodeled?
I won't do. There's things I won't do. I don't like plumbing. I don't like electrics, but I will sort of go and put things up. So yeah.
So as a kid, were you building stuff?
Yeah, I always build and
Wood?
stuff. Yeah, huts. You do making dens, and I was a country boy, so we had. It was always something we were building outside, and I came from a farming background, so it was very natural for me to always be outside and actually building things. Gosh, if I think back, modernised cars and bicycles and go-karts, and it was always something I was building.
You had to be outside, it seems like.
Oh yeah. I do prefer. I like the outside. That's probably part of the job, which sitting behind a desk all the time gets my goat a little bit.
Do you want to connect with business leaders and engage consumers who take action? The Joey Pinz podcast delivers high-impact conversations to an audience of decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals across multiple industries. A fast-growing audience of highly engaged listeners, both B2B and B2C. Millions of listens and views across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Brands that sponsor us see real engagement, conversations, and brand loyalty. Whether you're looking to sell a service, promote a product, or establish thought leadership, our sponsorships offer premium ad placements, exclusive episode sponsorships, full season branding, and event partnerships. Don't just advertise, become part of the conversation. Visit us at joeypins.com/sponsor to get started, or email us at sales@joeypins.com. Joey Pinz Podcast, where thought leaders, brands connect.
So when you see a piece of furniture, you probably see something very different than I do.
Yeah. When I look at it, when I look at something, I like to see the potential in it, and I see what it could look like. I see what I could make that into. My daughters had bought this very cheap IKEA piece of furniture, so I found this really nice piece of furniture online, which was just buckshy. I think it cost me like £50 or something like that. And within a very short period of time, within a month, I built this, I redone this unit and showed it to my daughter, and she said, "Can I have it?"
Wow.
And I said, yeah. So that was me to start. It's just a bit of a hobby. It's a bit of an interest. It's something not IT.
Which is important.
It's given me a bit more perspective, and actually, not that, but its perspective is sometimes you need to get away from the wood. So coming to an event like this, coming to IT Nation, my mind's been buzzing around a lot of conversation around M&A at the present moment. It's quite fascinating seeing how many people are diving in to this whole M&A conversation, and there's so many permutations to it. And one of my jobs which I've got is I'm events director with Network Group. So in that, we've got over 80 members in our group, and it's like a peer group. So it's more of a community than more anything else.
Non-IT?
It's all IT.
I see.
So it's the Network Group came from a buying group. So and it's currently we are probably the largest member-led peer group in Europe at the present moment. It's a real community.
Member-led.
Member-led. So where we are, IT Nation, which is ConnectWise with Evolve, formerly as HGG. Some of us would probably remember the dates.
Certainly.
You and I did. And this community. One of the things, it's what we do in the hallways. It's the time we spend with one another, but this is still led by a vendor, still led by a supplier. So it's still got a taint. It's not even a taint, it's probably the wrong word to use. It's still got an outlook which is based on what is maybe good for the vendor. Whereas in our member-led program, which we've got in Network Group, it's all member-led. So it's in the interests of the members to get better buying power, to share ideas, and the community in it they're very strong. They support one another.
How did you start this?
I got involved with, there was a guy called Philip Morgan who's with PAX 8 now. So Philip and I met at an Ingram Micro event. I was on the Ingram Micro Accelerator.
That's it.
And from that, I was sitting at dinner with him, and he said, "Oh, you're an MSP? Yeah. Well, we're looking for MSPs in this member-led." And I never paid any attention to it. And then 2 or 3 months later, I got a phone call, and next thing I know, I was going down as a guest, and the next thing I'd already joined, and I was now in this group. And what I really took away from it is that it was a community of people where some people were a lot smaller, some people were a lot larger, some people were further down the journey, and I could see that my experience, which I'd had with Evolve, I could really give something back to this group of people. And there were 2 or 3 of us from the Evolve community where we already had joined this group.
I see.
So that's what we did. It was very much focused around retail when I joined. So, but I got would love to see. I've always been a big one for coaching and developing and seeing people growing. Certainly in my own organisation, I've really enjoyed seeing that within the network group as well. So that was something I did as well.
Yeah, you love community, and you're a great part of the community. I've known you for 15 years, something like that,
Yeah.
Austen, and
Yeah.
it's always been in the. So, is there a community like with furniture? Do you find other communities like
Oh
that?
yeah, there's a lot of people involved in doing that. It seems to be a lot of people are interested in making good. I just think we live in a society where we're always willing to throw something away. And actually repurposing or giving something an extra life and giving it an opportunity, I just think is something that we could all do. We could all learn a lesson from that. I like to show my kids and others around us that life's not all about discarding something that's been much loved or something. And I've seen this a lot. Almost every time I've actually gone and collected a piece of furniture, there's always a story behind it. And these stories, often these pieces of furniture, somebody's mother's passed away, or they've changed their house and they need to get some extra space. There was one lady, it was just after Christmas, and we paid her £50 for this piece of furniture, and she said, "I'm sad to see it go, but the £50 is going to be really useful at this Christmas time." So there's a lot of backstory to all these things, and I just think what you do in life, especially around something like that, it's something about your core value. And I don't like to see waste, and especially with my clients as well. I don't like to oversell. I particularly don't like to undersell. And one of the things in this community which we're in is it's something that we're trusted advisors. We always have been. And
Yes.
we want to be able to give people good opinion and do a good thing by them.
Yeah. I do a lot of cooking. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
And one of the things about cooking for me, Austen, is that I go into the kitchen and it's relatively clutter-free. I start pulling ingredients out. I start cooking. I start feeding people. I clean as I go.
Oh
I eat
yeah,
a
I'm
little
a
bit.
cleaner as I go as well.
And then when I'm done, I leave the kitchen as it came. There's no projects that I get to see in my business that I see from beginning to end like that.
Yeah.
It's a great sense of completion. I would think that working with furniture, that's wonderful too, because you change it, you modify it, and you do it all yourself. It's a nice sense of completion.
Yeah, I didn't really sort of consider it, but I do. Normally when I'm looking for something like this, I'm looking for something which has got potential. I'm looking for it's a bit like some of my own team members. You look at that new apprentice comes in the building and you think, has this one got some potential? Not everything works out.
Right.
And, not all pieces of furniture are even worthwhile looking at. Some have got woodworm in them, some of them are split, some of them are broken to no way I haven't got the skill set to go and do that. But actually when you see a piece of unit and you think, what, I could do something like that. I could tidy it up, I could clean it down, I could repaint it. Beautiful food. One piece is absolutely stunning, which had this beautiful walnut bookmarked burl top. It was stunning to see.
Wow.
But it was all painted in this horrible grey paint. And you thought, why did somebody do this? And when I actually uncovered it and people saw what the work had done, and they said, why did anybody ever paint that?
Wow.
So it's something to see the potential in that. And that's what I was. I don't even know if I was doing that. It was the purpose of it. It was more of I always like to think I could put something back together. When I've done the houses and redecorating, I always take great pleasure to actually step back and look at something finished and thinking, yep, I put that together. So it's you and I being in the industry it's not that often we actually go and look at what project work we've done at the end and say, hey, look at that security
That's
stack.
true,
That's
it's
really
true.
made a
Yeah, we
huge
don't-
difference to
yeah.
that client. I can see the work that I've done. No, there's a box in a cupboard somewhere with a couple of green lights pinging away, and it's doing its job, but there's not the same amount of credibility to actually look at that and think, yeah, that was a good job done.
Yeah, you like the impact, Austen.
I think a lot of us like to think. I tell the thing. One of the stories in the business is very few times I've actually had a client phone me up and says, "Hey, Austin, I'd just like to say everything's working really well today. Just thank you very much. Thank you for your work that you do for us." And I just don't have that many. I don't have that many phone calls.
That's too bad.
It is what it is.
So I still work with a lot of MSPs, and generally for the last 3 or 4 years, the three things that keep them up at night are as follows. I wonder if they'll ring true with you. One, they're worried about security. They're worried about their clients getting attacked. They get attacked, they have to allocate resources, and the client's upset. It's a terrible situation. Two is human capital. If their technicians, some of their major ones leave, how are they going to replace them? How are they going to get new ones?
Yeah.
It's a high, there's lots of competition out there. These big tech firms are paying a lot for technicians. And third is just overall growth. You mentioned M&A.
Yeah.
How are we going to grow? The multipliers are incredible. M&A has poured in hundreds of billions of dollars. So how are we going to grow organically and even inorganically?
Yeah.
What do you think about those three? Same thing
Really,
here?
There's three really good points there. Let's just recap the one. The security one is a real concern, and I'm open to have this conversation. We've been through a major ransomware attack with one of our largest clients.
Wow.
And that was painful. I knew at some point we would have to contend with that. And I've always said in my career, it's not what you do right, it's what you do in the event something goes wrong. How did you step up? How did my team step up? And we went through that. And I think realizing that companies have to have a security profile. They've actually got to address this. And, the end of the day, the client hadn't listened to the advice you were given. And it was a really salient point to myself is that stick by your guns. Go in there. And we're not doing this just because it's something will make us margin. It's not something that is a nice to have. This will basically take somebody's business out. They will cease operating. They will have to make people redundant. The bank will foreclose on them.
Wow.
So that event which we suffered, which we had to contend with, that kept me up for nights on end, as it did the board of the company as well. So I don't think we'll ever get away from it. I think we're in part of this industry. We've got to accept there's always going to be a certain amount of risk in what we're delivering to the client, and we won't be able to cross all the T's and dot every single I. There will always still be a potential risk in the organization. And we've got to be clear with our clients that risk is always there. And I think that's one of the conversations we need to have. One thing which I'm doing at the present moment is I realize that there's this thing around being a consultant and being a coach. And we have to turn ourselves from being purely fixers to actually coaching our clients to see that cybersecurity is not our problem. Cybersecurity is their problem. They need to start really thinking about the risk and what they're doing around that. But so, I do agree. I think cybersecurity is a big problem. Your second point, which is around people's always been a problem. People's always been a problem. But I do think we're seeing some light with AI coming into organizations. We are seeing that AI is making a difference to that noise level. It's actually it's addressing that. So we're actually seeing that is starting to make an impact on our teams. So less than them having to be less noisy. We recognize that people in our industry they're difficult to come by. It's becoming a very competitive marketplace. It's not just us that's looking for techs. The whole industry. And we've come through Brexit here in the UK, and that's had a real impact. There's a big impact on how we address that marketplace of getting right people. So one of the things we did was we've set up our own academy in Scotland.
Really?
So we're now training more apprentices. We've got an academy going where we've got 20 kids into that. They're like that 12th and 13th year at
see.
school, so they're coming in, they're getting to an opportunity to see what it is to work in that space. And I think that's going to be a one way of actually addressing that marketplace. And your last one, which is growth. I'm hearing more and more MSPs saying it's getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
And more people saying that they didn't add anything on last year or they lost a client. Here in the UK, we've had some real challenges around how business owners can actually come out of businesses. So the relief in for somebody selling an organisation now, they're getting caught up with the government's tax laws, and it's becoming much harder now.
Wow.
So we have seen last October, we see a lot of companies starting to either sell up or be acquired and speed up that processes. And all of a sudden, and that's where the churn is. We were just in a meeting just earlier there, and most of our clients don't want to change MSPs. But actually, a lot of people are now getting forced to change because either they're being acquired or they're selling the business. And we saw a big influx of that in October, and that's really just coming through now. And in the past 4 months, we've seen that changes.
Wow.
So I think it's becoming challenging. The growth, I think, will come from things like rolling up companies, actually going into doing an M&A, and actually being prepared to actually do an acquisition and bringing a company into your organization. I think that's where we'll see we will do organic growth, but organic growth's never going to expand this more than maybe double points, might add on 10% in a year with organic growth. And I think if you're going to go out to really do some growth, I think you need to go out to the marketplace and see who's willing to who's wanting to exit.
Right.
And by the way, there's a big exit marketplace at the present moment because some of us are getting older.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You know, some of us are getting to that point of thinking, hey, well, you did.
Yes.
You exited.
I exited.
So there's quite a lot of us are thinking, I've done 15 years. I've done my time at this junction. It's time to move. Let some younger people come in.
We're here in London, Austen. IT Nation Connect sold out event.
Yeah.
First time I've been here. What are some of your goals here?
Some of my goals here of being at IT Nation, first of all, is the community.
Yeah.
The community is probably the big thing. I was really impressed how ConnectWise have put on this event. It's a great location, centre of London, superb facility, as in keeping this all together. The hotel itself, it's a little bit up and down. There's a few, we've discovered that there's some of the rooms are way at the other side of the hotel, but as far as keeping the community together and having great conversations, I think they've done a really good job of that. I was really impressed with the content which they delivered. We had Daniel Priestley this morning. I was fortunate enough to meet him pre I'm going on stage.
Oh, is that right?
He's a guy I've followed for quite a bit of time. I like what he says. He's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's certainly somebody makes us start thinking. I was really impressed how many people were referring to Daniel Priestley during the day after his keynote this morning. So that was really took a lot away. I think one of the things we always get some inspiration to actually go home with and get ourselves fired up and get the team fired up. So I think ConnectWise have done a really good event. I'd like to think we're going to see more about the ConnectWise, the ASIO platform coming on. That was one which is a concern for some of us because we've been speaking about this for a long time. I would like to see it. I'd like to see some action. And I think there's a lot of people in the room are saying the same thing. I could tell that by just the...
Kind of the elephant in the room, you think?
The elephant was right up there on stage. It was there. Yeah, we all knew it was there, but and lots of people wanted to poke it. Wanted to poke the elephant and see, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it's good that Manny and Jeff were able to give us an insight that it is progressing. But we've heard that one a couple of years ago as well.
Yes, yeah. I'll take that feedback back with them. You know.
I think maybe I'm not the first person to say that.
No.
I
I think there'll be a survey, a post survey. Please mention it. I hope people will.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah. You know, I work with some really young MSPs. You know, and they ask for my advice. I give them 3 pieces, Austin. I want to hear your feedback on this. 1, join a peer group. It changed my business completely. You're around like-minded people. You can bounce things off. It's incredible. Just join a peer group. I was part of Evolve. You were HTG, but just join one. 2, adopt a business operating system.
Yep.
There's plenty of them. Choose one and just adopt it. And then lastly, where you need it, hire a coach, whether it's in sales, whether it's in marketing, wherever it may be. What do you think about those pieces of advice?
I think that was excellent. I think the next generation coming up is that they, like all of us, we're young, we're keen, we think we can own the universe. And,
Yes.
we know better than everybody else. What do these buffoons know? They've been in the game for so long. Get out of the way, Grandad. Let me at it. Peer groups are probably been the thing that has moved the needle further forward than anything else. And one of the peer groups is not just being in a peer group, but it's holding yourself accountable in a peer group. It's one thing turning up and taking notes and paying lip service. It's another thing coming to a peer group and actually being held accountable. Now, there's all sorts of ways you can hold yourself accountable, but actually it's always to progress the needle. I think you also realize that this is you're not the only one. You're not the first person down this rodeo, and you need to take in some guidance from those that have been down that road. So you've missed the potholes. If you don't hit the road bumps and actually can go around them. I don't know. You've read To the Good to Great with the Valley of Death, and you're in the quicksand. It's not everything's not just a straight line. It waves, it moves. The industry changes. So such things happen in your life which changes as well. So I think peer groups are really important. You mentioned about an operating system or a way to actually. I can't agree with that more. I follow Traction or EOS as many others, and that's not the only ones.
Right.
There's Strat. There was another one. What's it called?
Connect-Strat.
That's it. That one, and there's various others out there who can offer you guidance and actually take you down that path. I've always been one who said that if you're going to get into one of those, follow a framework or be involved in that, is be involved, be engaged. Expect that there's going to be some hard work. It's not all going to come easy to you, and stay the course. This if you're going to go into one of these frameworks, expect it's going to take time to actually develop, and you will see. It's that 1% increment. If you can change one thing every quarter and move the needle forward one step every quarter. It makes a huge difference to your organization over 2 or 3 years. I mean, we're in this for a longer game rather than just a short, fast buck. I think the last one, which you said, remind me of your peer group. Coach. I didn't do coaches. I didn't do it, but
even in the peer group.
Yeah, I did. But here's where it is. I didn't do coaches. I didn't get what coach meant. And in the past, probably the past 5 years or more, we had a really great guy called Harding.
I know him very well.
Yeah. His first name, remind me again.
Hardin Byers.
Harding Byers. Sorry, I was thinking about it. And Harding was an amazing guy. I always remember he would never answer a question directly. So you'd ask him a question. Say, hey, Harding, what should we do here? What do you think you should be doing here? You would go, he did it again. And I probably thought that, coach, why do I really need a coach for it? What's the point of it? And in the past probably 5 years, I've realized that having a coach and having somebody who can give you that insight and ask you those questions, which you should be asking of yourself, but you probably aren't asking frequently enough, is is something I think a lot of people can miss out on. Some people think you need to go and see a psychiatrist or a therapist or something like that. But actually, you know, a coach will help you, and it gives you an opportunity to probably have that conversation, which you probably won't be able to have with your other half or your business partner or your somebody who's close to you. So I find my coach he constantly is asking me questions or trying to get me to focus on being able to find the answers myself. And I found that really. I actually look forward to having a meeting with my coach now, and I didn't have to. Honestly, I didn't look forward to having a meeting. I thought, what a waste of time. Why am I sitting down with this guy? But actually now I have those meetings on once a fortnight, and I come away with. We did a fantastic exercise back in April last year. Starting it took me from April to October, but we just kept going through the journey, and he was checking in probably monthly or quarterly. But you know, at the end of that, I would never have actually done it if it hadn't been a coach there to take me through that journey. So yeah, I think those are three good ones. I would actually also add that I think that having a community around you can be very good for. It's a lonely place running these businesses.
Sure is.
But having someone to be cathartic with, to you can actually express and actually hear back from them and says, oh yeah, I've been through that pain as well. And you go, oh, so I'm not the only one that went through that pain. And it's not just pain, you also celebrate some of the wins. It's quite fun to actually celebrate wins with somebody or to share an idea that you want to try something out. And I often find with my peers in the Evolve community that was the time I could go and try something, and if it didn't work, you know, I'd already given it a go.
Right.
So yeah, I community to me is another one.
It's a huge one for you. You know, I end up talking to some therapists on the podcast, and so the difference between a therapist and a coach, I hear therapist looks back, coach looks forward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting into this thing now. I just met a really interesting guy, a guy called Chris Marr, who runs a thing called the Authoritative Coach. And he's speaking, I'm just in midst of conversation with him, and he speaks about where difference between consultants and coaches. And a lot of us, when we're sitting down with our clients, we're often acting as consultants. So the consultant is, the client comes and gives us a problem, we then want to solve the problem, we will then go and explain the problem, how we can make a difference to them, and that's our consultancy. Whereas a coach goes in and they get the client to work out what the answer is by coaching them and what is it. And I was thinking Daniel Priestley this morning was saying that we get too quick to the sale. And I think that we, as this industry, we need to get closer to becoming coaches to our clients, because they've got issues which they're trying to resolve in the business, and we don't always have to come up with the answer. We can help them to come up with the answer. And by better questioning and having better conversations with our clients, I think we could help them, and we'll become deeper and more engaged within their businesses. So I really like this idea. You said difference between therapist and coach.
Right.
I think it's a difference. I think in this industry, we're going to have to see a mind shift where we become, rather than just box shifters or SaaS shifters, is actually becoming more ingrained into their business goals and outcomes, and actually become more of a coach to businesses, rather than just being the IT consultant.
Right. Yeah, he also talked about, it goes too quick to the sale. You want to, what's the term he used? You should get an interest first and then sale. But he didn't use interest.
You got look for the signs of interest. Look for somebody. He talked to this morning about going put out a piece of content for which is join the webinar, and we'll give you an insight into cybersecurity. You just join the waiting list. There's a sign that somebody's got an interest, and we're so quick to go for that big bang buck sale because we're all in such a hurry. And actually, I think that he's spot on when it says asking better questions. How often do we go and answer the problem that's been presented to us, only to discover 3 or 6 months later that was never the problem in the first place? And you're going, well, if I just gone and asked a better question, I might have found what they were actually looking to achieve. So I think that for me, that is something that I've learned from my coach. And I take some of that back to my own team as well by coaching them. I don't always give them the answers. I will try and get them to come up with what would you do in this situation? How would you deal with this client? How would you go and have that conversation? What would you think would work? And then, like we did, is that might not be the best tack is to try it that way. How about trying it this way? You've seen the four stages in somebody coming into a job where they go as a novice, apprentice, journeyman, and master. You ever seen that one?
So of course,
so
yes.
the novice, and I always use that in my business because not everybody will know how to do something. So you might have to give them a little bit of education at the start, and then they'll start working out for themselves, and then they'll be checking in with you to actually say, am I getting this right? So yeah, I think the coaching thing is that's a really good point. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, sometimes people ask advice, and I'm always hesitant to give. I'm like Harden. I end up asking more questions, but I say, well, here's something similar that happened to me. This is what I did, and this is what I learned. Maybe you can use that. So it's difficult sometimes to give direct advice because I gotta be careful about that, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. How many times you sit in a conversation and think, oh, I'm going to go and fix this? I think the good one is around relationships. My wife will sit down and she'll start discussing an issue, and I'm immediately into fixing mode.
Right.
I'm immediately wanting to solve the problem. And you can just see in Karen's face is, I don't want you to fix this.
Right, you want to hear
I just
it.
want to listen. I just want you to hear what I'm saying. Don't fix it. That's not what I'm asking you. I just want you to listen. And sometimes we're guilty of that, is that we try and fix it first without stopping and listening to what is being said to us.
I remember after COVID, I saw you because all the events were canceled, of course. And the first time I saw you after COVID, I remember you saying, you love community, but you had serious FOMO.
Oh yeah.
It's just because we're all been tucked away. What's happening? Where are we? And it just solidified your commitment to community for me.
Yeah, I think it. I've always been a people person. I started my career. I wasn't into the IT industry for the first 10 years of my life. No, I was a farmer. So I was a sheep and cattle farmer in Scotland. And that's a lonely job. That was a job where I was working on the farm on my own. And I realised over a period of time that I was much better when I was integrating and speaking to people. I'm well known within this community of being introducing people to people.
Yes.
So I will often connect people just by listening to somebody will say, oh, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, hold on a minute. I'll go and grab somebody. I'll go and grab them and I'll take them. Especially at something like IT Nation in Orlando. And I prize myself on constantly reminding myself and remembering who people are and where they've been. And looking at their potential as well. So I love connecting people together. So when it's what you were saying there is that within our community here, we've got a lot of very capable people, and it just bringing them together within that community has always spurred me on, and that's probably why I keep coming back to these events. And I like to meet the next generation down as well, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah. I've got some really. There's a guy here, Ian Grayson from StarTech. He's a really good guy, rock star. I remember sitting speaking to him, and he's often saying to me, I don't know if I should be doing this or I should. I said, yeah, go for it. Yeah, you'll be really good. Go and do your podcast. Yeah, go and do that. Do that bit on video. And we share a few comments. He takes his the Barocca with him when he's on tour as well, Cybersecurity. So
nice.
We share little feedbacks and comments. So yeah, the community, you know me. I've been around the community.
Yes.
I like to party hard as it is
bit,
with others as
bit,
well,
yeah.
a little bit. But I always like to connect with people, and it wasn't just the MSPs. No, not my people, my peers. I always connected with the vendors as well, because they were a brilliant community as well. They were all so supportive of us. So yeah, I like the community.
Austen, has there been anything in the last month or so that you changed your mind on?
Oh, what have I changed my mind on in the past month? Oh, give me an example of something you mean by that.
Going from well done to medium hamburgers.
Okay, yeah, I've changed. One of the things I've done is I've changed some of the language which I'm using with people. So I'm conscious of trying to ask better questions. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm starting to focus on rather than tell, is to ask.
Yeah.
So I changed my roles back in October. I changed from being a director with no title to being CEO. I'm going to say this, you can keep this on, but I see myself more as a chairman. I'm more doing the mentoring and growth and the long-term strategy within the business. And my business partner, he's taken over as the managing director of the company. So he's running the operations of the company. So one thing I've had to change is my style of engagement. So going from business direction, operations, and actually control is into mentoring, coaching, and giving more counsel and strategy to the business. So I'm now consciously having to change how my conversation, and the way I've been able to do that is my coach gave me two just, there were sort of like pictures, there was sort of like schematics of how to be a leader and how to be a manager. And I have these in my office now, so I always look at the top left-hand corner, which is the leadership one, and below it, and it doesn't need to be below, but just alongside it is the management one. So what does the manager have to focus on? He's got to keep operations right, KPIs, keep people engaged, look at the numbers, keep everything moving.
Yes.
And what does the leader have to do? He has got to enthuse, he's got to deliver culture, demonstrate cultures there. He's got to praise when he can. So I'm constantly catching myself out when I'm slipping down into the manager space and constantly remind myself I've got to be in the leadership space. So that is something I'm trying and training myself, and that's been a big change over the past, it's not just the past month, but it's certainly the past 6 months.
Wow.
I've been constantly remind myself, and change is like everything, it's inertia. You don't get something without putting some effort into it. So I'm finding I'm having to put some more effort into how I communicate with others.
I've had employees that were managers and thought they were leaders. It's just like a big difference. And so your definition of what's the difference between a manager and a leader?
Well, managers, exactly for the word manage.
Right.
So they are constantly there. So they'll be looking at the numbers and making sure the guys are turning up for their work, making sure the work's getting done. They're managing the expectations of the business, hitting the goals. Leaders are leading. A leader should be demonstrating what the culture and the values in the business. They should be walking the walk. They should be the ones that they're having a conversation. They shouldn't be bad-mouthing about the clients, for example. They should be the ones who are giving praise. The leader should be somebody that inspires people to do better and be better. And I think when you're a leader, you've also got to accept that whilst you're leading people, not everybody's going to get it right first time. And not everybody's going to be a good manager
Right.
or being a good employee. So as a leader, you've got to accept at times that not everybody's going to get it right, but what you can do is empower them and encourage them to be better. So I think there's a big difference between what I see as a manager who's managing, and a leader has got to give that bit more of around the culture and the values and show people that, and you know what, you got to trust your people as well. I think that's a very strong thing around a leader. A leader's got to believe and get the right people on the bus in the right seats if you can, as clearly as you can, and support them. It's a little bit like probably being a parent at times. You sort of got to see them, allow them to fall down every now and then, pick themselves back up, and make sure they don't encourage them not to make the mistakes again. So I see a leader as being somebody who has to walk the walk.
And it's important for organizations to have both.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can't just have a leader.
Right.
And at the same time, I think you can have a business where there's a manager. I think you can have a business which is just a manager. But I think as a business grows and scales, and I think as a business matures, you've got to have leadership and management. And it's being able to build that into your organization.
So, you know my story, Austen. I started in the 90s, and I gained a lot of weight, right? So I'm I'm at the doctor's office. I'm at 340 pounds, and I converted
340.
So that's 155 kilos, yeah.
Yeah.
And she says to me, if I don't lose the weight, and I was working 14 hours. You're used to this, working long days and putting my health behind, and I was younger. If you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate.
Wow.
So it scared the life out of me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm driving home, punching the steering wheel. What have I done to myself? You know, it's not just me anymore. It's the family now. I've got to be around for them. So next 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds, which is 60 kilos.
You lost 60 kilos.
Yeah, in about 6-7 months, and you can't look at it as a finishing line. Right, you've got it's lifelong changes.
Yeah.
Many people grow it, gain it back.
Yeah.
So when I tell people the story, they say, "What's your secret? What'd you do?" And there's no secret, Austen. Discipline. That's how I lost it. I got willpower, focus, motivation. How does discipline play a role in your life, Austen Clark?
How does discipline? My wife will often tell you, you're too hard on yourself.
Really?
You're too hard on yourself. You don't give yourself credit where's credit. And I think that is part of my discipline, is that I expect better. I expect better from myself. And I will push myself to get things done. And like a lot of us is we don't like to grasp that nasty nettle every now and then, but I realize that I have to, and there's a discipline in that I have to. And if I don't deal with something, then I'm gonna let somebody else down, and also gonna show others that that I am walking the walk. And one of the things for me, you spoke about COVID. And I came into, we all went home and didn't come into the office. I've been going back into the office for the past nearly 4 years. I think I spent about 6 months probably not in the office. And I decided, no, we go back. I need to show an example to everybody. So my discipline is that I hold myself accountable. And by holding myself accountable, I can actually then say, I can hold you accountable. So I wouldn't ask anybody in my team to do something I'm not prepared to do myself. At times, I will fall off that track, or I might not. But I will always remind myself that get back onto that track. I always remember this. My dad, being a farmer, would always teach me that everything had its place. And I'm a bit fastidious around that you put things back where you found it. That everything, there was an expectation as how something would be left. So when my team go out and they do an implementation and they leave a whole stack of cardboard boxes behind them and you know, they haven't tidied up the packaging, I will take them and I will then go and have that conversation. Have you ever heard of Kimmy Scott's Radical Candor?
I've
So
never
Kim Scott, really great book, and it's about radical candor. And I use this all the time in my business now, and that's where somebody cares deeply about somebody and is willing to challenge them. So I try and live in that box of care deeply for my team, my clients, etc. But if I see something, I will bring it to somebody's attention and say, "Hey, is that really the right thing you've done there?" And you know, you're letting yourself down and you're letting me down as well. That's not how we do business. You know that. I've spoken to you about it before, or I've laid out this expectation. That's not how you see how I do it. So my discipline is that I hold myself to account, which means I can therefore hold others to account. And it'd be too easy just to go and, you know, just ignore something or to just wash over it. So I've got a thing which is in the business now that if I see something, I deal with it there and then. I will take you to account. And I'm not trying to be obnoxious or not be understanding. You know, there's something maybe going on in your life. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But the discipline is that I will call it out and don't think I'm going to fudge over it. And we've had the conversation.
Wow.
We've done the town hall. We've explained to everybody that, you know, we need to improve our game at times, and we're going to improve our game. This is how it's going to get done. And we've given you know what the expectation is. So that's how I use discipline for myself, and that's how I try and give some expectation to the team.
What motivates you, Austen?
Oh, what motivates me? Family. A real big one in family. I've got 2 girls, and my daughter's coming up this weekend. We're looking forward to seeing her. She's really doing well in her career.
How old is she?
She's 29, and she is now running 2 very successful restaurants in the middle of Edinburgh. And she's, she often calls me and asks me some not even business advice, you know, just what do I do in this situation? And then she'll tell me what she's doing, and I'll be asking questions about, you know, how did you do that? I mean, she's quite impressive what she's been able to achieve. My youngest, she's having a career change at the present moment, but what really motivates me is seeing both of them, these 2 women,
Yes,
being able to rise up and be the best of what they want to be and can be. So I get a lot of motivation out of that. Other motivation, I think, is a motivation. You said, how do you describe it?
I said, what motivates you?
Oh, another thing which has motivated me over the years is when I've had a conversation. It's happened twice last year. One guy walked up to me. We had a gala dinner for the network group, which I'm involved in, and this guy came up to me and said, "You won't remember me, but you spoke to me a few years ago and you were so helpful in getting my career moving forward." I can't even remember the conversation with the guy. I remember meeting the guy and we had a good conversation, but what motivates me is seeing somebody developing in their career, and I've taken great pride out of it. Actually, do you remember Ted Garner from IT Weapons?
I do.
Ted Garner was a great guy.
Yeah.
He's still a good friend. I still keep in contact with him online. And Ted always told me this story about how his business had gone from being treated as a family, and now there was only 2 ways that people left his family. One was divorce and one was by death. Pretty traumatic at periods. And how he turned his psychology around to team, and he had this team mentality. So when somebody joins your team, you've got a soccer team, and a youngster comes in and joins your soccer team, how much pride you have as you see this person growing and developing within the team, to the point that they may move on to a higher division than you are in, and you can see this person, you've got this pride that this tech has come through the ranks and is now going on to be in work. And I had a very, very good friend of mine. I don't know if you remember a guy called Andy Stewart. Andy Stewart was Darrow, and Unfortunately, Andy's no longer with us. But Andy became the people officer for Darrow, and he was looking after almost 1,500 employees at the time with Austen McCord. And the pride I had is so Andy, who joined us as a receptionist, and he went on to becoming the managing director of our company, who then left and exited and went on to work at Darrow. That was, to me, there was great pride in seeing somebody coming through. So what motivates me is seeing people and their careers advancing and growing. I've always enjoyed watching people grow as an individual in my organization.
So given those two motivations, how do you measure success?
How do I measure success?
Your impact of family and of seeing others grow.
I think with family, the impact in family is I've got a very good relationship with both my daughters, but it's a father-daughter relationship. So we're not best friends.
Right.
I'm not her buddy. I'm there as a rock for them, a touchstone which they can come back to, which they can refer to. I often will remind myself that I have my daughters there, and that what will be my legacy to them. And sometimes you look at her and you think, well, have I really left a legacy? Or you think, well, you know what, I did. I set the tone there. And Karen, who's my wife, who for 30 years has been married to Karen, is that, again, we've given them a touchstone which they can both come back to. So how does that measure? My measure is that I've got two girls who are willing to pick up the phone, have a conversation with me, will share things with me. I mean, we're not speaking intimate shares, but more I want to have that relationship there with them. So that's been really important. How do I measure on the team? That I'm developing. We spoke about traction here, so we've built out that whole organizational chart. I've now got a leadership team who are starting to run the organization, and just seeing all that transitions is inspiring to me. And that's how I measure that. I'm measuring that on seeing those people growing within the organization.
Your brand deserves to be in front of the right audience decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ready to take action. That's exactly who listens to the Joey Pinz podcast. Thousands of engaged business leaders and consumers tune in every week. Millions of views and listens across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Sponsors see real impact, higher engagement, brand trust, and conversations. We offer strategic partnerships tailored to your goals, including targeted ad placements, branded guest appearances, multi-episode and event sponsorships. Make your brand part of the conversation. Let's grow together. Visit joeypinz.com/sponsor to explore sponsorship opportunities, or email us at sales@joeypinz.com. The Joey Pinz podcast, where brands and thought leaders connect. Well, Austen Clark, my friend, I've been meaning to have you on the podcast for years. You finally did it. Thank you so much. Anybody watching or listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, they can get in touch with me through my IT company, which is Jira IT.
Jira.
Juliet Echo Romeo Alpha IT. They can get hold of me by email, which is Austen, AUSTEN, .Clark at jirait.co.uk.
All right.
Or they can get hold of me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Or they can get hold of me through yourself. I
Yes,
suppose.
absolutely.
So those are probably two ways to get in contact with me. And I'm always here to try and share and pass on knowledge and experience. Community.
Yeah. Austen with an E and Clark without an E.
Clark without an E, Austen with an E.
Yeah, my friend.
Hey.
Thank you so much. You're the best.
Thank you so much. Joy, it's absolutely awesome seeing you here in the UK.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Disciplined Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciplined Conversations.